Good morning and welcome to the Colorado Health Foundation's Healthy School Meals Through Scratch Cooking Funding Opportunity webinar. My name is Beth Clemens and I'm the Events Manager here at the Foundation as well as your chairperson for today's webinar. Let's go ahead and get started with some housekeeping notes. Our webinar today is being recorded so that others who could not attend can watch the presentation later. Later today, you will receive a link to this recording as well as the PDF presentation that we'll go over today. We'll also post the recording and the presentation on our website at www.coloradohealth.org. In order to minimize background noise, your phones will be muted in a listen-only mode during the presentation. The final portion of our webinar is devoted to questions, so please feel free to send your questions via the chat function at any time during the presentation. You should see a chat dialog area located on the lower left-hand side of your screen where you may type and send questions. You will also see a raise hand button, which we will not be using, so you don't need to click it when asking a question. If you have any technical difficulties during the webinar, please call ReadyTalk's toll-free technical support number at 1-800-843-9166. Make sure to have your registration confirmation available. Finally, after the webinar is concluded, you will have the opportunity to give us feedback through a short survey. We ask you to take a minute and complete the survey, which will help us to improve our future presentations. And with that, I'll turn the conference over to Hillary Fulton, Senior Program Officer for Healthy Living at the Colorado Health Foundation. Hillary?
Good morning, everyone. I'm pleased that you could join us this morning to learn more about the funding opportunity about school meals. Many of you who have come to know the Foundation over the years know that together we can make Colorado the healthiest state in the nation. And we're working to do that at the Colorado Health Foundation through three bodies of work around health care, health coverage, and healthy living. The healthy living area is where the funding opportunity we're discussing today lives. And in this area, our goal is that all Colorado kids are fit and healthy. It falls under our strategy to create healthy early childhood settings in schools that provide quality physical education and activity and healthy food and beverages. And more specifically, our program area that this will address is ensuring that all kids have healthy food and beverages in schools. I'm pleased to talk with you more about our funding opportunity called Healthy School Meals Through Scratch Cooking. And through this opportunity, we will be supporting equipment costs and other needs for school districts that are transitioning from processed school meals to healthy meals cooked from scratch. I'd like to take just a minute to tell you a little bit about how this particular opportunity was developed. As many of you may know, the Colorado Health Foundation has invested in school meal reform since around 2008. And we took a look back over that body of work and some investments that we've made in Live Well Colorado over that time as well to inform what we should do next. We also took a look at a literature review. We engaged staff within the Foundation from across our evaluation, policy, and communications teams. And we got advice from Live Well Colorado, the Gretchen Swanson Center for Nutrition, and the Colorado Department of Education. We're pleased that we were able to launch this opportunity just last week, and we'll begin receiving proposals from school districts who are interested in working with us starting later next month, and then again in February and June of next year. In order to apply for this funding opportunity, you'll complete an online application, and there are some required attachments that you'll need to include along with that application. First, we're asking for a letter of support from the school district superintendent. And secondly, we're looking for a scratch cooking survey that is available on the website. This survey was developed by the Gretchen Swanson Center for Nutrition, and it will give us a snapshot and a better sense of where you're starting with scratch cooking in your school districts, as well as ask you to make set some targets for what you'd like to accomplish during the grant period. This is our effort to really tie what you're proposing to do with efforts to improve the school meal quality in your schools. The Scratch Cooking Survey is based on a quantitative menu analysis developed by the Gretchen Swanson Center. A rubric is available online to show you in greater detail how that information is set up. This is our attempt to try to come up with some standard or shared definition of scratch cooking. Let me spend a little bit of time walking through the funding criteria for this particular opportunity. First and foremost, eligible school districts must serve a high-need student population. There are 3 ways in which a district can be eligible. First, the district's free and reduced price meal eligibility rate must be 50% or higher. The second way a district might qualify is that they must have a minimum of 5,000 total eligible students. So in other words, large districts that may have lower than 50% free and reduced lunch eligibility could still qualify if they have more than 5,000 students who are eligible. And finally, the district must participate in or be pursuing the community eligibility provision at the district level. The second criteria is that the district must really be able to describe how the proposed work will support an ongoing transition from processed to healthy scratch cooking. We're also looking for a demonstrated commitment from school district administration. As we referenced earlier, we're looking for a letter of support from the superintendent to document this. And if you have any other examples that you'd like to express about ways in which your district really supports this work, we'd love to hear more about that in your application. We're also looking for youth and family involvement in guiding meal changes, and a demonstrated approach to or plan for building broad school and community demand for healthy school meals. In both of these areas, your district is likely to have already gotten started, but we really want to understand, in cases where you haven't started engaging youth or family, plans for how you can do so. The district must participate in the National School Lunch and School Breakfast programs and comply with federal standards. The district must also be in compliance with related state policies. And finally, we are also welcoming applications that are collaboration among school districts. And in those cases, an applicant may be a school district or it may be another nonprofit fiscal agent. In cases where multiple districts are working together, a majority of participating districts must meet the funding criteria that we've just walked through together. Let me also tell you a little bit more about what this funding opportunity will and will not fund. Hopefully this will answer a number of questions that I'm sure you have coming into the call today. This funding opportunity is really targeted towards major meal equipment, software or other business management tools, capital renovations. In particular, we know from our research and working with school districts that some of the transitions to scratch cooking can really require increased energy demands or even cafeteria redesign, and we're interested in supporting efforts to do that. Your proposal might include marketing efforts that may involve students, parents, teachers, or other school stakeholders, or other community partners. We likewise know that food storage capacity can be a real barrier to transitioning to using more fresh foods, so we're interested in supporting efforts to expand capacity in that area. And finally, we're looking for innovative efforts to achieve scale. So this touches on, again, some of the ideas that we've heard come through our research about ways in which districts could work together to really support efforts to incorporate more fresh foods into the meal program. That might include improved distribution systems or shared services such as workforce, food purchasing, food preparation, business software and training, or I'm sure multiple of other ideas that you all have come up with in your work. What this funding opportunity is not designed to do is support staff salaries, the cost of food, standing capital improvement plans that do not have strong ties to scratch cooking improvements. The funding opportunity will not support culinary training. Many of you are probably familiar with work that Live Well Colorado does in this area, and we invest heavily in their efforts to promote culinary training widely across the state. So we will not be funding that type of work separately through this opportunity. And we will not be supporting strategic planning for individual district meal programs for the same reason. Live Well Colorado has some excellent resources to help districts walk through strategic planning if they're interested in transitioning from processed to scratch cooking. And finally, as you may have noted through the earlier part of the presentation, I did want to just clarify that early childhood programs are not eligible through this funding opportunity. It's really focused on K-12 school district work, and specifically with districts who are school food authorities for the National School Lunch and Breakfast programs. I'm going to turn it over to Kay Boki, who will tell us a little bit more about our evaluation approach.
Thank you, Hillary. I'm Kay. I'm an evaluation officer at the Foundation. And for this funding opportunity, we have two evaluative components. The first component is to quantify the reach of the funding. So this would involve you reporting to us the average number of lunches that you serve daily, your total district student enrollment, and then the average daily participation percent, all data that I think you guys already collect. And then the second component is to assess the impact of the funding through interviews with food service directors and other school staff. We hope to answer questions such as, how useful was this investment? What would you have done without this capital investment? What changes did this investment allow you to make? And where do you see yourself going with this type of work? Now I will hand it back to our chairperson, Beth.
Thanks so much, Kay and Hillary. So we'll go ahead and begin the question and answer portion of the webinar. And just a quick reminder, if you do have a question, feel free to use the chat function. It's on the lower left-hand side of your screen. You can type in your question there, and we will respond to it. And if for some reason we run out of time, we definitely want to answer all questions that come in, so we can email you responses if we're not able to get to your question today. So it looks like the first question is, are there minimum and maximum grant amounts for this funding opportunity?
Thank you for the question. This is Hillary again. Generally, the maximum grant award will be $250,000, although district size, whether the application involves a collaboration across districts, will also be taken into consideration. There is no minimum grant requirement. We have, over the last several years, made investments that range between $25,000 and $500,000, with the average request size being $225,000. So that's just a historic perspective, but we did want to share that $250,000 would be our maximum.
Thanks, Hillary. The next question is, how might we demonstrate school and community demand for healthy school meals? For the application, you do not necessarily need to have that in place already. If you do have things that you're doing to try to engage the broader school community, perhaps teachers and administrators at the school level, or you want to engage parents in different ways, we want to understand what you're doing, and we want to understand your plans to do that, because we know that building broad support for meal changes can really help support increased participation and sustainability of your efforts beyond any staffing transitions that might occur. So that could include things like school district communications that go out to families and school staff. It could include local media relationships that you have in place. Some other creative ideas that we've seen over time include school district meal service catering district events, so you can showcase the quality of your food, or inviting parents and teachers to eat for free on special days so that they likewise can experience
the changes in food service that are underway. Another creative idea that I recently heard was that district kitchen staff would host parenting cooking classes, and it's just another way to help really bring more champions on board.
Great. And the next question is, are you requiring that districts work with LiveWell?
No, we are not. So far, LiveWell Colorado has engaged over 90 districts in some way, but their model and intensity of support has changed a lot over time. So we want to be sure that any district that meets the criteria that I walked through earlier is eligible regardless of their participation with LiveWell at some point in the past. That said, given LiveWell's good work, we think it's very likely that many, if not most, of our applicants will be engaged with LiveWell in some way.
Terrific. Just a reminder, if you do have a question, please go ahead and type that in the chat box. The next question is, for smaller districts with limited staff, application completion may be a challenge. Do you have any suggestions?
That is a great question. I think we have thankfully been able to work with some smaller districts in the past, and I want to encourage anyone who may be working on a grant application for the first time or just have some basic questions about how the process works, please call us. We can help demystify it. We try to keep our application relatively brief, and so I can coach anyone through it, but I understand it can be intimidating, and we just appreciate the time that people take to put into the process.
Great. Thanks, Hillary. So it looks like we don't have any additional questions at this time, so we'll go ahead and wrap up our question and answer period. Certainly if you have additional questions after this webinar, you can contact Hillary, and hopefully she'll be able to provide information about those. Thanks again for joining us today. Later today, all participants will receive an email that will include a link to the webinar recording as well as a PDF of this presentation. And please don't forget to complete the short survey that will be available on your screen after we conclude the webinar. Your feedback really helps us to improve our future presentations. Thanks again, and have a great day.